Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Lovely to have you along for the ride. Apologies to the live audience again. Just basically reprogrammed my computer. I don't know how to describe it. Got that still updating thing. This just keep on going. Didn't stop for a while, and it was awful. It sucked is what it was. I was like, you know what? The Amish people, maybe they haven't figured out. Anyway, welcome into the show. Phillies are as terrible at baseball as I am at running a computer. But that sounds like such a boomer thing to say, running a computer. That's pretty much why. But yeah, the Phillies are terrible at baseball. The Eagles, defense in particular, had a wonderful joint practice in New England just outside Gillette Stadium against the Patriots. Gearing up for preseason game number 2 Thursday night. Here's what I am really having difficulty understanding. It really sounds like Jalen Hurts isn't going to be playing on Thursday night. It sounds like Jalen Hurts is not going to be playing in the preseason at all. It seems like the only opportunity, the only chance we were going to get, or at least Jalen Hurts was going to get, to listen to Kellen Moore call plays and to exchange snaps and communication, have overall communication with Cam Jurgens, his brand new center. The only sliver of hope we had to see that, and the Eagles had to see it as well, was in Baltimore, but the field was slippery, so they didn't want to do it. Fine. Is it pivotal? Does it mean the season's going to be terrible if they don't play a series? No, obviously not. But I can't help but put myself in the shoes of anyone who is about to do something with like a brand new manager in any work of life. I don't know, any walk of life. I don't know. And all of a sudden you got to be thrust into a moment where it counts and you have to work out any kinks that might come up. I still would love to hear if you're in that situation if you're Jalen Hurts, wouldn't you love to at least, all right, this is what Kellen Moore's going to be doing when he's calling plays, and this is what it sounds like in this stadium, and this is what it sounds like with that new offensive coordinator calling these new plays and this new offense that, by the way, is 95% different, according to Jalen Hurts, and still, as of yesterday, referring to it as a work in progress. And you're also dealing with a new center. Wouldn't you love to have that experience? Just hey, look, we were in a game situation. Granted, it was like 1 second, or it was one series, whatever the case might be. And this is what we can work on. This is what I like to do in a game. This is what you like to do in a game. Because I'd rather that be worked out in a moment where it doesn't matter. If it wasn't a new offensive coordinator, I wouldn't give a damn. But all the evidence points to Jalen needs as much experience as possible before the games count to understand and wrap his head around everything that's different. And keep in mind, we've never heard from Jalen Hurts. This is 95% different. We heard about that in the mini. We heard about that in minicamp. We also heard about it before the joint practice session. Or excuse me, not the joint, the open practice at Lincoln Financial Field, where he didn't want to refer to that number again, that 95% number, because he knows how that kicked up a poop storm. All right. Jalen Hurts has needed a second year in an offense to really understand it. So I think one series would go a long way for him. He wouldn't really talk about it. He seemed like he was open to playing a series or two, right? Nick Sirianni made it seem like, no, it's not happening. And as a matter of fact, talked more about how he would have liked to have another joint practice session. It just didn't work out that way, unfortunately, for the Eagles to be able to do that. Defensive starters played. They have a new defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio. Offensive starters did not play against the Ravens, and they have a new offensive coordinator, and I think it would behoove everyone to at least get a little bit of an experience. Now, I don't really need, in all honesty, just so you know, this is coming from a place of fairness, I don't need to see Devontae Smith. I don't need to see A.J. Brown. I sure as hell don't need to see a running back and Saquon Barkley out there. I don't need that. But when it comes to the guys that are going to be communicating every single play, I think they should kind of do everything in their power to ensure that they're on the same page before the games count. And they're taking on a really good football team in a really weird place in the Green Bay Packers in Brazil. kind of makes sense that they would be as on the same page as possible. So we'll talk about that. We'll get into what Nick Sirianni had to say yesterday, what Jalen Hurts had to say yesterday, how the defense looked yesterday. There was a name that was mentioned, and it was by a friend of the show from Inside the Birds, Andrew DeCecco. There was a name that was mentioned that we haven't really heard this name mentioned. I've had to be reminded that this guy was even signed by the Eagles in the offseason. Bryce Huff apparently looked good yesterday. How about that? Bryce Huff looked good yesterday. Everyone looked good. I believe the word used by Andrew DeCecco was barrage, a barrage of sacks by the Eagles defense yesterday. Okay. All right. So everyone's getting theirs. Nakobe Dean was getting his. All these guys getting their sacks. So then of the bunch going after a quarterback in a practice where, again, you can't bring them down. We say sacks with quotations. Bryce Huff got his. Okay. One thing that Nick Sirianni did say yesterday, I will say this, is he really loves the toughness from his edge rushers. It's kind of weird when you can't get the quarterback. All right, you won your battle. Good job. Kept on coming. Good job. But you don't when you win that battle, don't touch that guy in the red jersey. Don't you dare do that. Don't you do that. So we'll get into that conversation as well. Cooper DeJean, good to see him out there on the practice. Well, running some drills, individual drills, if you will. But still, nonetheless, good to see him out there. Nick Sirianni also continues to say that CJ GJ, it's nothing long-term. What does long-term mean exactly? For me, long-term means week one. If he's not going to be ready week one, this to me is long-term. If he's going to miss the first 2 games of the season, this is long-term. If he's not going to miss any time, when we're talking about something that's a little bit less than a month away, then yeah, I would not consider that long-term. But if he's going to miss regular season time, that's long-term to me. That's certainly long-term to me. But Nick Sirianni maintains it's not long-term. Okay. Yeah, we'll get into all of that. But I got to say, I am at a loss for words with the Phillies. Here's the mindset I think you have to have going into last night's game. Taijuan Walker's making his first start since June 21st. Taijuan Walker, not a very good pitcher this year in general. Finger injury or not a very good pitcher. If you're a member of the Phillies lineup, you got to be thinking to yourself, all right, let's really be focused tonight, because odds are with Taijuan Walker starting, coming off of injury, we're probably going to need some offense. We're going to need to be swinging some hot bats. And they go out there last night, and what do? Did they put up 10 runs to try to help their starting pitcher? Did they go out there and score 7 runs to try to help their starting pitcher? Did they go out there and even score a run? Did they offer 1 run of support to really any of the pitchers that were in the game? The answer to that, obviously, is no, because they were shut out for the first time at home this season, and they lost their 5th straight game at home this year. You know, the Phillies, here's what's fun. The Phillies in the first half of the season didn't lose more than 3 games in a row. Their longest losing streak of the first half of the season was 3 games. In the last 3 weeks, they have lost at least 4 games in a row, twice. Baseball's fun. We're having fun. This is so much fun. But the Phillies bats go out there last night and don't offer 1 run of support to Taijuan Walker. Now, you could also make the argument that they were pressing a little bit. And when I watched them last night, they were, I will say, Bryson Stott in particular, Cal Stevenson as well, just missed home runs. Just under it a little bit, right? So maybe they were pressing. Maybe they're gripping the bat too tight. Maybe because of their recent struggles, they are gripping the bat too tight. But watching them last night, they just looked like a team that was lost in general. Rob Thompson doesn't seem to have any answers. After the game, we'll let you hear from him. He was talking about the team meeting that we've been talking about. The team meeting going to do? Well, give me something different. He talked about possibly making a change, shaking things up a little bit in the lineup, more so than he's already tinkered just a little bit. And he also got into the idea of the amount of confidence that he has in his baseball team right now. You know, the New York Yankees, They're facing a fun little opponent there in the adorable little Chicago White Sox, right? And they Juan Soto hit 3 home runs yesterday, so he's pretty good at baseball. But the New York Yankees, if you remember, one of the conversations we were having when the Phillies got swept by the Yankees before that series, that they got swept by the Yankees. The Yankees won their 50th game of the season. It then took them 32 games to get their 60th win of the season. Yeah, that's right. They went 10-22 in a 32-game stretch. And now they've recovered to go 11-5 in their last 16 games. The Phillies right now are 7-16 since the All-Star break. And we all know that even you can go before that, talk about losing 2 or 3 to the Oakland A's before the All-Star break. So there's hope that the Phillies find themselves and climb out of this awful rut that they're in. But my biggest concern is that, again, it doesn't just go back to just before the All-Star game. Sure, as bad as they've been playing does, but them being a mediocre to below mediocre baseball team goes back to the date I've pointed out many times, May 24th. Went into Colorado. They lost 2 or 3 to the Rockies, lost 2 or 3 to the San Francisco Giants after that. And really ever since then, they have not been the same baseball team. Oh, and then they went to London, for the people that want to blame London. It is a really, really rough go of it right now for the Phillies and the Phillies fans. And I came to this conclusion on the postcast last night. If Rob Thompson's not going to do it, and it seems like the players aren't going to do it, that leaves one outside influence to try to really shake things up. And maybe this 6-game homestand is exactly what they need. Not to, all of a sudden, they're going to start mashing and all that stuff. But it'll give us, the fan base of Philadelphia, an opportunity to boo the hell out of this team and at least vent our frustrations. Because I don't ever see what happened with the fans last year and Trey Turner happening overall in a grand scheme of things where it's like, the Phillies have been terrible. Standing ovation. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't ever see that happening. But oh my goodness gracious, this team needs something. Afterwards, Rob Thompson said, yeah, he does have confidence in his team to turn around. He referenced the back of the baseball card, which he loves to do. And he also talked about possibly having that team meeting, something that he's thinking about. We'll let you hear from him. But last night, Taijuan Walker went out there and he went 4 innings. Now, I expected the best case scenario, he gives you 5, but he allowed 3 runs on 4 hits, did give up a home run. He walked 3. He did not look particularly good in this start last night. However, on the other side of this, he didn't look god-awful either. And the strike zone was terrible for both sides. This isn't a complaint like the Phillies got shut out because they didn't know the strike. No. The strike zone was the same for both sides. It was god-awful for both sides. And it was consistent throughout the game. If it was a horrible call in the first inning, it was still a horrible call in the 8th inning. But nonetheless, it was consistent. But watching last night's game, I watched a team on the hill with Taijuan Walker. He looked exactly like a guy that you would expect, like coming off the IL, missing almost 2 months. He looked like a guy that was just working out all the hiccups, if you will. He wasn't great by any means. He wasn't good by any means, but he wasn't god-awful. It was a 3-run start. The bullpen got gotten to as well, but it started with starting pitching. But then you watch the lineup go out there, and it looked like a game of false hope. There were a couple of bats I mentioned for Bryson Stott where he was just under it. He thought the ball was gone. There was the one play or one hit or one fly out he had to deep center field, the deepest part of the ballpark, essentially, and it just died on the warning track, and that was that. There was another opportunity where he put one in the right field of the warning track and just died at the warning track again. I mentioned the Cal Stevenson play where it looked like on contact. Oh, my goodness, you're going to get out of this, or you're going to get a run out of this. Let's go. And then it dies at the warning track. There are a lot of instances like that where you thought it was some good contact and then it would just die. But the bottom line is when you string enough of those together, that means you add that up and that just looks like a lost baseball team that is scratching and clawing for any ounce of optimism, any ounce of a sign that you're about to break out of this, and they just fall back into the rut. And what it makes them do, it almost makes them sink deeper into this rut because, look, I just put a great swing on that, but it's just a warning track. Oh, I might be breaking out of this. No, I didn't. I just flew out to center field. Oh, that might be over the wall and left. No, it's just an F7. Oh, I lined out to right field. Like it's an ugly scene. And listening to the fans go after Trey Turner, booing him for his error in the game last night, overrunning a slow roller to short, booing them as they came off the field. I believe it was in the 7th inning. I think the fans are really going to let the frustrations out if they don't get back on track today. And I said yesterday, 6 games at home, 5-1 record. 5-1 record. I'll give you one. Oh, what do we do there? I didn't expect that to be 5-0, but hopefully that's it. Now the Phillies just rattle off 5 wins in a row. That would be a winning streak. When I talk about false hope, I look at the Phillies and what they were able to do in the 3rd inning. 3rd inning of the game, Berger led off the 3rd with a home run, but he's been on fire, so that's that. That was a 3-0 deficit then for the Phils. The other thing about that was that Taijuan Walker had him down in the count 0-2 and then lost him and threw him a fastball middle in, and that just got demolished. But then in the bottom of the 3rd inning, Marsh struck out. Shocker. Marsh struck out looking at a fastball. Rojas went up there and got a 1-out double. He's at the top of the order coming up. Kyle Schwarber and Trey Turner both foul out. Schwarber fouls out to 3rd, and then Turner fouled out to Brujan in right field, who made that spectacular catch in foul territory to end that inning, and that was that after the 1-out double by Johan Rojas. Then in the 4th inning, Bryce Harper leads off by striking out. He looks at a pitch that was down and in. It was a ball. It might have been the worst strike call of the night. And Brennan Miller, the home plate umpire, rung him up, and you could see Bryce Harper walking away from the plate just going, that's not a strike, man. That's not a strike. That's it. It's down and in. It's not a strike. But it was a strike all game. So Brennan Miller was awful all game. The strike zone was an extra 6 inches wide and 6 inches high and low. Actually, low did not get called that much, but inside, definitely. This was an example where low was called. So Harper strikes out, and then Bohm goes up there, works a walk, extends the on-base streak now to, I believe now it's 31 games. Stott flies out to right field, made good contact, 7-pitch at bat, ended terribly, unfortunately. Then Castellanos gets the ground rule double. This was maybe a break for the Phillies because the Marlins up 3-0 aren't going to challenge in the 4th inning, and the ball was hit down the right field line. Maybe they did look at it and decide it did kick up some chalk, but I would have been surprised. If that ball was called foul, it probably would have stayed foul if they reviewed it because it was just that close. But Castellanos at the bottom of the 4th inning with 2 outs puts a ball down the right field line that bounces into the stands for a ground rule double. You now got 2nd and 3rd with 2 outs. JT Realmuto stepping to the plate. You need to get something going with JT Realmuto. He flies out to right field, and that was the end of that threat, if you even want to call it that. So the Phillies maybe showed some signs of life. Nope, they go down 1-2-3 in the 5th inning. They go down 1-2-3 in the 6th inning. 7th inning, Stott flies out or lines out to right field. Castellanos pops out to 2nd, and then Realmuto gets a hit. Marsh strikes out. 8th inning, Stevenson hits that long fly ball. Dies. Schwarber strikes out. Turner strikes out on 3 pitches. Phillies are hitting below 300 with runners in scoring position over their last 4 games. They've lost all those games. Below 200 with runners in scoring position. It's 198, I believe it is now, over the last 5 games. Not that they had many runners in scoring position last night, but oh my goodness gracious. This team is unrecognizable. When you look at their faces, they look like they have no idea what's going on. If you would have told the Phillies that the ghost of Babe Ruth or something came down to be like, "Nah, I smite thee," and they were just like, "Oh, that makes sense," because we don't know what else. It could be anything right now. Babe Ruth's ghost could be coming down here and be like, "Yeah, that's it." I don't know why it would be Babe Ruth. It was the first baseball legend I thought of that would come down. They look like they have no answers for this. They look like a completely lost baseball team. After the game, Rob Thompson talked about why he should have confidence that this team will turn it around.
Well, just because we've been through this before, maybe not this prolonged, but you look at the numbers on the back of their baseball cards. I always bring that up. I believe in this team. They're resilient. They're tough. They care. I know we're going to turn around.
We've been through this before. I think the last time you were going through something like this, the manager got fired. The Phillies did have a terrible September last year, and then they were able to get their you-know-what together and secure a wild card spot. But you know what they haven't done in a very, very long time? Been the best team in baseball and then fallen the hell apart. And this dawned on me last night when I was doing the postcast. Somebody actually asked me about it in our chat, but let's go back to the All-Star, or excuse me, to the trade deadline. My takeaway from the trade deadline was that Dave Dombrowski challenged this baseball team. And he said, I'm not saving you with the acquisition of Brent Rooker, for instance. I'm not going to go out there and add when we're already spending top dollar on this lineup. I'm not going out there and bringing in somebody else that's going to save this team. And then if that fails, then we really are lost. Then that's the end. It's over. So Dave Dombrowski, what he did was he challenged this team. He said, you be better. All the big bats in this lineup, be better. Be those big bats. Be those team leaders. Be those production machines that you're supposed to be. That goes for Kyle Schwarber. That goes for Nick Castellanos, who, yes, has been one of the best Phillies hitters that I've been saying for 2 months now. Over 2 months. Trey Turner, you need to produce. JT Realmuto, get that the hell going, please, and thank you. I'm challenging you, Dave Dombrowski. I'm challenging you, this Phillies team, to be better. I'm not acquiring a savior. And so far, the Phillies have looked at that challenge and failed miserably. Nobody has been able to turn it on for this Phillies team to the point of carrying this team. Now, there's no one guy, even guys that have stayed hot or good hitters, like Alec Boehm or Nick Castellanos, you can't look at him and go, like, Nick Castellanos got booed for swinging at the first pitch. He always swings at the first pitch. Like, we've talked about this. This is what he does. He does that, and he's been one of the Phillies' best hitters. So he's the last guy on my list that I'm pissed about. Maybe the way he plays right field, maybe that'll get under my skin from time to time. That's just the way Nick Castellanos is. So Dave Dombrowski challenged the team. Nobody seemed to be up to the challenge. And right now, the only people that seem like they're really going to be holding them accountable is the Philadelphia Phillies fan base. So then this brought up the question from Rob Thompson last night, and we talked about this yesterday. For a month or so now, we're talking about this team meeting. Should the Phillies have a team meeting? Now, when I think about team meetings, I think about Jimmy Rollins, Chase Utley, Ryan Howard, and Cole Hamels. And I think about that era of Phillies baseball. And I think about the end of it. Like when it was the end, but we didn't quite know it was the end yet, and they were really struggling, and Charlie Manuel was still coaching and all that stuff. I remember one particular year, they had what seemed like 5 closed-door meetings. And it was like every 3 weeks, they're going to closed-door meeting. Oh, media is outside the clubhouse right now. Now not allowed in. A players-only meeting. They had a few of those as well. And unfortunately, guess what that meant? That meant at the end of that meeting, they came out of that baseball, the clubhouse, and they still sucked at baseball. It did nothing. It did nothing. But at least they were trying to address the issue. This now, with the Phillies going on for a month and a half, it doesn't seem like anyone's addressing the issue. And Rob Thompson has asked many, many times, is it time for a team meeting? You're not a team meeting guy, but is it time for a team meeting? So once again, Rob Thompson was asked last night about a potential team meeting and if he's getting any closer to a team meeting.
Yeah, I'll think about it, but I mean, I think about it all the time, you know. Is it time to do it? It depends on a lot of things. It depends on the attitude and where I think the guys' minds are at. And I think overall, they're very solid right now. They're frustrated, because they know that we're better than that. And our fans know that we're better than that. And we have very knowledgeable fans, and they let you know when you're not playing well. And, hey, it is what it is. That's the game.
The last thing I needed was it is what it is. Now, I know Rob Thompson's not saying that to take anything lightly, but that's exactly where my mind goes. When I hear it is what it is, it is what it is. It is what it is. 7-16 is what it is. All right, so let's talk about what it is. One of the highest payrolls in baseball, wildly underperforming. I was thinking about it last night. The Phillies going into last night were 20 games over 500. All right? 20 games over 500, and I hate them. When I was doing this postcast with the Diamondback series, I don't know if they just don't have any media in Arizona, but a lot of Arizona people were watching the Phillies postcast hosted by yours truly. And they're really chiming in. And I'm like, damn. And a lot of them were saying, you guys are 20 games over 500, it'll be fine, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, it must be nice. It must be nice to be a Diamondbacks fan right now and realize that you're either in the midst of or you're about to play your best baseball of the season. Where it feels like, as a Phillies fan, you watch the Phillies in the first month and a half, 2 months of the season, you're like, this is incredible. They're great. And I remember even thinking going into June, what if? Oh, baby, what if? What if the Phillies actually do the thing that they seem to always do, which is still play their best baseball in June? What if they're just undefeated in the whole month of June? And it turns out June's kind of where everything started to go to hell. But what if that was going to happen? I remember that was a thought I had that passed through my dumb brain in one ear and out the other. But I look at this team, and going last night, 20 games over 500, and I'm just so infuriated by them. There's nobody on this team I'm looking at right now be like, they're going to carry the team. It would be nice. Now would be a wonderful time for Bryce Harper to have a home run hot streak. Now would be a wonderful time for Kyle Schwarber to just go on fire. Now would be a wonderful time for JT Realmuto to hit 320, which he did in May. And ever since then, not so much. Something needs to happen. What is a shakeup? Rob Thompson was also asked last night about shakeup. Is it time for some kind of shakeup? And he gave us a very similar answer that he did about the team meeting, which is he's thinking about it. He's getting closer to it. He thinks about it every day. And he even said something along the lines of, we'll see tomorrow. What could happen? What is the shakeup that could happen with this Phillies team? Is Harper going to get benched? Is Turner going to get benched? I mean, first off, Harper's actually been hitting since the All-Star break, so I don't all these things could happen with your Phillies team. What's the shakeup? What, in all honesty, is the shakeup? The shakeup with this Phillies team could be Garrett Stubbs. Vibes man extraordinaire, not producing in games. It's small. It's subtle. I mean, could he be the firing the manager version? Because they're not firing Rob Thompson. They might fire Rob Thompson at the end of the year. I said this yesterday. They might fire Rob Thompson at the end of the year if they miss the playoffs. A historic collapse like this, they might move on. But What's the move they make? What do they do? Is it as subtle as a Garrett Stubbs DFA'd and they call up Rafael Marchand? I don't think they're going to bench Bryson Stott after Rob Thompson just talked about how he was barreling up a couple last night and just missed it. He's been terrible all year. They're not going to sit JT. That ain't happening. Like, what's the move that they make? Johan Rojas has been one of your better hitters lately. Like, think about this. This is where we're at right now. What's the subtle move they can make? Because I don't think it's going to be a big move. Maybe a day off for somebody. That's something I don't think Rob Thompson uses enough. Oh, that's rough. Tyler Phillips gets the ball for the Phillies today. And then after that, you're going to start your 1 and 2 aces, hopefully, and Zach Wheeler and Aaron. Ranger Suarez threw off the mound yesterday. You're not going to see him this homestand, hopefully shortly thereafter. The Phillies are grasping at straws right now. Another 6:40 start time tonight, so I look forward to that. Hey, Eagles are they're up at Gillette Stadium. They're practicing just outside Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts, and they're running around with the Patriots, which is all sorts of fun. The biggest note from yesterday, outside of anything injury related like Cooper DeJean or CJGJ, was that the Eagles defense looked like they had been in this defense for years. According to all accounts, the Eagles defense is really understanding what Vic Fangio is asking of them. And that is a welcomed sign. Because the biggest thing about Vic Fangio's defense that I had been hearing about was the communication. And it takes a while to understand the communication and the freedom that you have as a defensive player. Whether you're a defensive back, whether you're a safety, you have to have top-tier communication. Linebackers, top-tier communication. Because there's a lot of switching that goes on, more so than Jonathan Gannon or anything we saw with Sean Desai. And that communication has to be key. For the guys to be as on the same page as they were yesterday is a wonderful sign. And it's that kind of communication that seems to be flourishing right now on the defense. Oh, look, a defensive unit that actually played a little bit together in preseason game number 1. Seems like it helps a little. But can we imagine for a second? I know a lot of people looked at just having put in another disc. I see you, Sean Gillespie. Thank you. This Eagles defense looking to be on the same page is obviously a huge sign, and it's something that we took for granted. Maybe with past defenses, the great Jim Johnson defenses that we got to enjoy so much. But when we look at guys like Jonathan Gannon and we look at guys like Sean Desai, and we heard that name Vic Fangio attached to both of them, it kind of left a lot to be desired. When we knew Vic Fangio was working with the Eagles leading up to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, and then in the second half they laid an egg against the Chiefs, you want to talk about penalties, whatever, that left a lot to be desired. So the Eagles went and got Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio is actually showing or going to put together a defense that's going to be run similarly to the defense that he was able to run in San Francisco, which to me is one of the best defenses I can remember. Then we'll finally have that defense that will be aggressive when it needs to be aggressive. And most, like, overall, great. A great defense. If that actually comes to fruition, to be able to hang your hat on that, when that was a huge concern going into mini camp, of course, going into training camp. The offense, I felt like, was going to be fine. All the weapons you have there, the continuity that you have between the receivers and your quarterback. You're bringing in a new running back that I think will fit in perfectly here. And the only continuity question I had was between center and quarterback, and then obviously quarterback to play caller and Kellen Moore. If the least concern was really on the offensive side of the football, and defensive side of the football was going to be having a lot of concerns, and that's working itself out well, yesterday's practice hopefully is only the tip of the iceberg. When it comes to the rest of it, though, when it comes to Jalen Hurts addressing the media yesterday, when it comes to A.J. Brown addressing the media, and Nick Sirianni, a couple of things that jumped out to me, though. Jalen Hurts talking about the offense still a work in progress. That you can file under, well, what's he going to say? If you're Jalen Hurts, what's he going to say? What still a lot. Ooh, geez. Don't understand anything. I'm like, I only understand now maybe 70% of it. No, he's not going to say that. And he's never going to say, oh, we're good now. We're perfect. I understand everything. Work in progress is exactly what you expect. Did not like himself yesterday at practice. Excited to go back and watch the film. Was upset about a sack he took yesterday. I think he was referring to yesterday as a little step when he said sometimes you take big steps, sometimes you take little steps. My impression of that was yesterday was a little step. When he was asked about, he was very vague about this. When he was asked about if he's going to have enough time to be ready for the season when it comes to playing in the preseason or joint practices, he says the goal is to be ready. Yeah. So how do you get ready if you're not playing? How do you get ready with one joint practice? And look, they play Thursday. You know what I mean? They play Thursday. So it's not like they have a full week of joint practices here. And it's their only one. I liked how he talked about breaking or busting Tanner McKee's stones for going to Stanford. He did really praise him, though, for his understanding of the offense already. And he's really quick, Tanner McKee, to understand stuff. He got asked about his Olympic commercial. There's nothing there. Sirianni did talk about Cooper DeJean doing individual drills. As I mentioned, CJ still working through his injury. Shouldn't be long-term. Toughness with edge rushers. And when Nick Sirianni was asked about evaluating the team through limited time, evaluating starters through limited time in the preseason and only one joint practice session, he might have given the most incoherent answer I have heard since his opening press conference, introductory press conference. He talked about not seeing it a game, only seeing one joint practice, and then guys taking mental reps like CJ or Cooper DeJean. Mental reps. So we're going from not playing in preseason to practices are bigger than preseason to mental reps are like practice. This is a downgrade to everything I know. Like this is like this is a downgrade to everything I grew up with about football. Like, you gotta play hard, you gotta practice hard. You know, it's like, well, just think about doing it and you're practicing hard. What? This doesn't make any damn sense to me. Please make it make sense. None of it makes sense. A.J. Brown doesn't have much to say about the offense other than, it's all coming together. It seems excited, optimistic. But practice is practice and games are games. That's what I got out of yesterday, folks. Best thing, most important thing, the defense seems to be way ahead of schedule. I love hearing in great light the names Nakobe Dean. I like hearing in great light Jeremiah Trotter Jr., who I think showed us a lot, maybe more than anybody in that first preseason game. Nolan Smith is really trying to expand his game beyond just speed. Love hearing that. And it really does seem like you're going to have 3-4 guys that are really competing to be linebackers on this team. Devin White, clear-cut favorite to be the number one guy. Zach Bond has to kind of pry that position or take hold of that position with Nakobe Dean, obviously, trying to go up there and do his thing, and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. So having 4 guys that seem like they really want this. Can't remember the last time I talked this much about about training camp linebackers. So that is at least a sight for sore eyes. A sound for sore ears? I don't know, but I like it. Let me tell you about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app to your phone, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and take advantage of all they have to offer on the Game Time app. Phillies at home? Hey, you want to go down and boo your team? If they suck, if they can't right the ship, get your tickets on the Game Time app. Oh, yeah. Game Time app is where it's at. Download the Game Time app to your phone, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. They have last-minute ticket deals, flash ticket deals. They even have ticket deals for an hour after the event starts for mega huge savings. So let's say you don't want to use the Game Time app to go to a game, but maybe a concert or a comedy show. You can download the app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, get $20 off your first ticket, or first purchase. And if you wait an hour after the event starts, let's say you miss the opening act, you miss the middle, but you'll still see the headliner that you so desperately want to see at a great discounted price. The Game Time also has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets, all courtesy of the Game Time app. It's pick an upcoming game. You get a super deal on it from the Game Time app. So download the Game Time app to your phone, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get $20 off your first purchase. That's F-A-R-Z-Y for $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Terms apply. How about PHL Sports Nation? Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how you wonderful people are doing on this fine Wednesday morning. April, dealer time. Yeah. Issues, sorry. IBH, what's going on? Hopefully after the long update today that I had to deal with, hopefully that's good. We're good for a while. Phillies need to break something or break this slide, says April. I don't know what they need to do. Any sort of slump buster, I think. I think the only thing the Phillies can do right now would be fire Thompson. Not sure we've reached that point yet. I don't think they've reached that point yet. But one of the charges of a manager, I understand that this is run by the Phillies. I understand by this is run by the players. And one of the things they love about Rob Thompson is that he allows the players to kind of police and motivate themselves. But one of the things I keep going back to, and I always go back to with Dave Dombrowski when he introduced Rob Thompson, when they fired Joe Girardi, was you can't really put a number on it. Like, people like to say a manager is responsible for maybe 5 wins and 15 losses. Like, they can affect the game more negatively than they can positively. I think that totally brushes aside something that's very important. And that is the clubhouse atmosphere and energy. And it's something that you can't describe with analytics. It's something you can't quantify. But you definitely see it. And you saw it with Joe Girardi. So now that the Phillies are struggling terribly, how do you get out of this slump? How do you get out of this funk? Rob Thompson doesn't have any answers. He's tried adjusting the lineup a little bit. What would be a major change in the lineup? Do you put Kyle Schwarber as your 4-hole hitter? Do you move Bryce Harper at the top of the order? What do you do? Do you move Alec Boehm at the number 2 spot? What's crazy? What could the Phillies do? But overall, the manager is responsible for the clubhouse vibe, to use that buzzword. And he just doesn't seem to know what button to push. He looks like me trying to run a computer. James Alexander, what's going on? Good morning. The Phillies are letting the media get in their way. I'd want the media to get in the way right now. Get in the way in the clubhouse tunnel to the field, so they can't play. Sean Leslie, good morning, everyone. This damn team, Topper does need to speak up publicly. There's something he said yesterday. I was like, okay, all right. Well, at least he knows. At least he's not in denial. Like, I understand a manager. Like, what's a manager going to say? Are you confident that this team is going to turn it around? Oh, no. Have you watched them play? we can't do anything right. We're terrible. A guy tried to steal third base. We gave him home yesterday. Carlos Estevez allowed a leadoff base hit and then got a double play and then allowed a home run. It was like, oh, damn, a base hit. Oh, good, a double play. Oh, shoot, a home run. That would be pretty funny if a manager was like, oh, no, I don't see them turning it around. What are you, crazy? But here's what I admire about Aaron Boone during the Yankees' horrific run that they were on there, right? I admire this about Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone wouldn't say the word struggle. I think that was the word he wouldn't say, a struggle. Like, reporters would be like, oh, can you acknowledge that the team is struggling? And he's like, look, is this a tough time? Yes. But he wouldn't say the words, like he wouldn't acknowledge struggle. And it took him 32 games to win 10. So maybe Rob Thompson was, I'm not going to say we're struggling, but it's not good right now. Kevin, what's going on? Jason A., what's popping? Jason, I can't say the way our media treats Jalen Hurts. They ask him the dumbest questions. I was listening to that yesterday. There was one question that actually, I didn't think it was a dumb question. It was another, see, one thing I try to keep in mind when I hear a question and it's like, that's weird, is a lot of times reporters will get an assignment from an editor, and the assignment will be like, hey, write a story on Saquon Barkley with the Eagles now and how he's doing in training camp. So the reporter will then go into the press conference and be like, hey, Saquon, you're throwing to a guy with that much talent. What's that like? And that was more or less the question yesterday. And Jalen, I don't think he copped an attitude by any means, but I think he wanted to stick up for running backs he's had that are still on the team, like Kenny Gainwell, and running backs that he's had, like Miles Sanders, for instance. He wants to talk about guys that he's played with and are playing with now that are pretty good. And the question was along the lines of, hey, that wheel route you threw to Saquon Barkley during practice yesterday against the Patriots, what was it like to throw a wheel route to a player of that caliber? And Jalen Hurts, if he answers the question, then he's kind of, in his mind, he's throwing teammates under the bus. So he says, and I don't know, it might have been a Patriots reporter asking the question, which would explain why now they'd be doing a story on Saquon Barkley being with the Eagles. But Jalen said, I don't know if you were at the link for open practice, but we ran that same play with Kenny Gainwell, and he caught it. So obviously he could be praising Saquon Barkley, but in the same sense, if he does that, then he's almost agreeing with the question that he hasn't played with anybody as talented as Saquon Barkley, which, by the way, for the record, he hasn't. But he didn't want to throw Kenny Gainwell under the bus, a guy who's still in the locker room. He didn't want to throw Miles Sanders under the bus, a guy that he played with. But I didn't have a problem that much with the questions, the line of questions that he was facing yesterday. IBH, Sean Gillespie talking to IBH. Firing Topper definitely should be on the table now. He's not doing his job effectively, and the team refuses to listen. Whatever the message is. Not going to lie, it seems stupid to give him a few run-throughs at game speed. For Jalen? Great voice inflection. Thank you, Mr. Sandman. I don't know what that is. Kilpie. What is a Philly? A horse or a cheesesteak? Well, technically a Philly is a horse, but that's, I think, spelled differently. Hold on. Horse. Philly. Yeah, no, it's the same way. A Philly horse is a female horse under the age of 3. Yeah, that's right. Okay. And it's spelled with an F. That was the difference, not IE, but or excuse me, not like the city. It's spelled with an F, F-I-L-L-Y. So it's not a horse. Literally, the Philadelphia Phillies is just a nickname for Philadelphia. That's the name. It's not named after a fine cigar that one might have picked up when they were 17 at 7-Eleven at some point. But it's just Philly. Do the Phillies and Eagles got a chance to win it? I would say the Sixers too, but my boy Joel, a habitual choker. Okay. Kilpie, are you trying to make me feel better? What's going on here? Rollins, what? Brian Mack, what's going on? MLB wants Dodgers, Yankees in every World Series if possible. Of course they do. Baseball's how you finish. Thank you, Brian. Let's hope they finish well. Mr. Sandman, I'm pretty sure the Phillies would play better if they could play better. Just accept that it's not a good baseball team. Yeah, I'm kind of getting into that spot. This is where I started to have computer problems. I can see from the comments. Brother Hannibal, what's going on? Love your work in Carthage. 1964, 2024, 1964, 2024. So Rob Thompson still has his job. Laugh out loud. What? Ink Train. Great name. What's up? Jason, it seems like everyone in the interviews on the Eagles are trying to temper expectations. Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to stick their chest out at this point, unfortunately. But I don't know. To me, the defense understanding what's going on is the biggest thing so far in training camp. The biggest thing. My expectations are still that the Eagles offense is going to be great. I don't know what I'm going to get from this defense, but just hearing that they're on the same page, that's a great sign. A great sign. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful as per usual. Let's get to the morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Outside of the Phillies, ladies and gentlemen, the Braves won in 10 innings last night as a ball off the bat of Travis d'Arnaud in the 10th inning just found its way to leak into shallow right field for an RBI single. And that ended up being the difference in the ball game as the Braves beat the San Francisco Giants 4-3. The New York Mets lost to the Oakland A's 9-4. So as of right now, your NL East standings go as this. Phillies now 6 games up on the Braves, 8 games up on the New York Mets. And hey, look at this. They're 24.5 games up on the Marlins, the team that they lost to last night, and a team that they're now 4-5 against on the season. Baseball's fun. The Dodgers, they won yesterday, too, against the Brewers. They played the Brew Crew yesterday. They're now the number 1 team in the National League, so we're all having fun. Bing, bang, boom. What is that? Yeah, they won 7-2. We're all having fun. So as far as your Philadelphia Phillies go, when you look at the overall standings in the National League, the LA Dodgers now have a 1.5 game lead on the Phillies. Phillies are 2 games up on the Brewers in second place there. So that's fun. And then overall in Major League Baseball, the Guardians, the Dodgers, the Yankees, and the Orioles all have gotten to the 70-win mark while the Phillies are still waiting for that moment. Good times. Phillies will be back at it tonight, 6:40 start time. Tyler Phillips gets the start for the Phils. They'll try to avoid their 5th straight loss. 6th straight loss at home. So there's that. Tyler Phillips gets to start against Edward Cabrera. Cabrera 2-3 on the season with a 5.20 ERA. Hey, that sounds hittable. But unfortunately for the Phils, the 26-year-old is coming off back-to-back starts where he tossed scoreless outings. 7 scoreless against the Padres, 5 scoreless against the Atlanta Braves. Prior to that, 5 innings, 2 runs against the Tampa Bay Rays. So the Phillies will hopefully be a thorn in the side of Edward Cabrera. And as for Tyler Phillips, He is coming off a 4-run performance against the LA Dodgers. 5 innings, 4 runs in that game. He allowed 4 runs in the first 2 innings and then settled in nicely after that. Phillies actually won that game 9-4. And, of course, prior to that, he went up against the Seattle Mariners and allowed 8 runs over an inning and 2/3. 6:40 start time. Phillies try to get off the schneid. We'll see what kind of shakeup or change the Phillies make, if any, tonight. Be interested to see what that lineup card says when it comes out tomorrow afternoon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for sticking with me after a crazy show today, technically. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Be back with you guys tonight on Locked On Sports Philadelphia. That's Locked On Sports Philadelphia. And then back with you guys again tomorrow morning for the Farzi Show. Thanks for watching. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.